The story begins in a restaurant where a girl named Mika is chatting with her friend. At the table next to them, another girl, Hinata, is trying to end her relationship with her boyfriend. When she finally says it out loud, the boy becomes furious and splashes water on her. Unfortunately, Mika, who is seated next to them, is accidentally splashed with water and her phone and clothes become wet. This annoys her and she hurries to the bathroom. Hinata also feels horrible and rushes after her, saying she's sorry. As the two start talking, Mika is intrigued by Hinata's story, who has just broken up with her boyfriend. She has now fallen in love with another man, but the problem is that he is already committed to someone else. Mika is slightly perplexed, but nonetheless, she informs Hinata that if she really likes a man, there's no harm in stealing him from another woman. The scene then shifts to the company where Mika works. Her co-workers dislike her because she frequently manipulates her bosses and demands that they do all her work. However, one guy named Koda appears to be interested in her. Even though he is aware Mika is engaged, he never misses an opportunity to speak with her and takes care of most of her tasks. Later that night, Hinata goes to meet the man she has fallen in love with. His name is Toru, and they first met when he accidentally hurt her while she was crossing the street. Toru feels horrible and tries to make amends for his mistake. Meanwhile, Hinata likes him romantically, although she knows he's engaged. After the two have dinner, Toru returns to his flat and finds his fiancée waiting for him. She is revealed to be none other than Mika. As of late, she is having weird experiences, like receiving baby pictures on her phone and some unusual numbers after it. The next day, Koda notices Mika in a stressed state and asks what's the matter. When she shows him the messages she's been receiving, he offers to help her. It appears that the numbers on her text message represent the coordinates of the last places Mika visited and when she visited them, such as a restaurant, hair salon, and grocery stores. Just then, an employee arrives and informs her that someone named Kana has called, which causes her to become even more paranoid. That evening, Mika informs Toru that Kana has been calling her and sending her strange messages, but he doesn't believe her. He tells her that Kana is no longer alive, and he asks her not to mention her name again. After a while, Mika returns to her flat and discovers that the door is unlocked. As she enters, she is terrified to see several baby handprints on the window. Mika is disturbed by what is happening and rushes outside to clear her mind. There, she meets Koda, who offers to help her. One thing leads to another, and the two end up kissing. On the other hand, Hinata approaches Toru, who seems to be upset over something. As they talk, he reveals that being with her helps him relax. Saying this, the two also start kissing. In the end, both Toru and Mika wind up cheating on each other. However, it turns out to be a trap that Hinata has set up to hurt Mika and Toru. It is also revealed that Kana is her sister. According to Kana, Toru cheated on her while she was pregnant. One evening, she was pushed down the stairs by Mika, which killed her unborn baby. Hinata recalls how her sister took care of her after her parents died and how they were happy together. But after the miscarriage, Kana just left a note about how Toru had hurt her and how she wishes to meet her parents and dead baby. She just disappeared after that, and no matter how hard Hinata looked for her, she was never found. The next day, Koda secretly takes a picture of Toru and Hinata together and sends it to Mika. Enraged, the latter goes to Toru's workplace and asks about the woman, but he tells her that nothing is going on between them. Just then, Toru's boss arrives and inquires as to what is going on. When Mika introduces herself as Toru's fiancée, the boss invites both of them to his home party before walking away. Later, Mika orders Koda to hurt the woman who is allegedly meeting her fiancé. She doesn't want anyone to interfere in her life, despite having done the same to another woman. That night, Hinata is walking home when she sees someone following her. Terrified, she immediately calls Toru and pleads for his help. Meanwhile, Koda continues to follow her and is about to attack her, but Toru arrives in the nick of time and scares him away. He then escorts Hinta to her home, but since she is traumatized by what happened, he decides to stay. At midnight, after Toru falls asleep, the cunning Hinata opens his laptop and steals his company information from it. On the other hand, Koda informs Mika that he wasn't successful in hurting the woman. Hearing this, Mika gets angry and berates him for not working hard enough. She then proposes that he can sleep with her if he gets the job done, but Koda leaves, saying he is tired of all of this. In a shocking turn of events, it is revealed that Koda is actually Hinata's boyfriend, and the two have been plotting the scheme together to destroy Toru and Mika. The next morning when Mika gets to work, she discovers that Koda has resigned and left. However, she doesn't pay much attention to it and leaves for Toru's house. On reaching there, she starts looking around to find clues about the woman he's been seeing. Meanwhile, Hinata and Koda have tapped Toru's phone and are listening in on all of his conversations. That afternoon, Toru takes Mika to his boss's party where a lot of people are present. The couple also forgets about their worries and start enjoying themselves. However, In the midst of it, Hinata calls Mika pretending to be Kana. Initially, Mika does not trust her because Kana is supposed to be dead, but Hinata shares everything she knows about her, including her phone number, where she lives, and even the fact that she shoved Kana down the stairs. Mika freaks out, and when she hears the boss's grandchild crying, she goes completely insane and creates a huge scene. As a result, the furious boss kicks them out of the party. However, Mika continues to be paranoid. Even at home, she tries to convince her fiancé that Kana has been harassing her, but he is not having any of it. Moments later, Toru receives a picture of Kota and Mika getting close and gets enraged. So, he immediately ends his relationship with her, claiming that she has ruined his life and career. Mika begs him to reconsider, but he throws her out of his apartment. The next day, Mika receives an email claiming to be from Toru. She immediately clicks on the link, which causes her computer to crash. Unfortunately, all her intimate photos are sent to the entire office. Along with the pictures, an audio recording is also sent, where she explains how she caused someone to fall down the stairs, resulting in a miscarriage. Meanwhile, Hinata is relieved that her plan to hurt Mika has worked. She is now focused on taking revenge on Toru. In the next scene, Toru returns to his job where his boss demotes him for the chaos that happened at the party. That evening, he meets Kota, who pretends to be working at a rival company. He acts like he wants to hire a new employee who is as dependable as Toru. After a small conversation, Kota hands Toru his business card and leaves. The following day, Mika arrives at Toru's office and creates another ruckus. She informs everyone that despite being engaged to her, Toru had an affair with another girl. He cheated on her and ruined her life. Surprisingly, the plan works, and the company's boss orders Toru's transfer to another country. The latter doesn't want to leave Hinata, so he decides to call Kota via the business card he gave earlier. The two talk for a while, and Kota agrees to hire Toru, but only if he provides confidential information about his current company. Meanwhile, Hinata is on her way home when a group of thugs appear and abduct her. They take her to a remote location and try to assault her. However, before they proceed, Hinta tricks the thugs by lying that she has activated a phone tapping software. Everything they are doing right now, whether it is sound or video of their faces, is being transmitted to another computer. Hinata claims that she won't press charges if they tell her who put them up to this. The men become terrified and reveal that Mika was the one who sent them. Later, Hinta goes home and explains everything to Kota. Infuriated, he decides to punish Mika, but Hinta stops him. On the other hand, the thugs from earlier abduct and assault Mika. They don't want their faces to be revealed, so they threaten Mika into getting the data from Hinata anyhow. With no options left, she obliges. Later, she carries out intense research and finally learns that Kota and Hinata are connected. She also learns that Hinata is Kana's younger sister. With this, it finally dawns on Mika that the two were just conspiring to hurt her. Furious, she goes to confront Kota, but before he can say anything, she knocks him unconscious. Elsewhere, Hinata meets Toru and tells him the truth about her identity and her goal to destroy him. A few seconds later, Toru receives a call from his workplace. His boss is furious because their secret information has been exposed to the competitors. It turns out that Hinata had stolen Toru's company information and leaked it to their rival companies. After the call ends, Toru reveals something that Hinata is unaware of. He reveals that he genuinely wanted to marry Kana and had proposed to her several times, but she always refused him. Before he can explain any further, suddenly, Mika shows up to attack Hinata while Kota rushes after her. However, Toru gets in the way and ends up being stabbed. As Hinata watches in horror, Kota quickly takes her away from there. Later, when they reach their apartment, they are stunned to see Kana standing in front of them. She mentions that she missed her sister and therefore she has returned. Kota and Hinata are taken aback because they assumed Kana was dead. However, Hinata is very happy to see her sister and she rushes to hug her. In the next scene, she tells Kana about her plans to take revenge against those who have hurt her. However, Kana unexpectedly asks Hinata if she enjoyed sleeping with Toru. She reveals that she ran away because of Hinata, not Toru. After their parents died, Kana felt as if Hinata owned her entire life. She constantly declined Toru's marriage proposal because she was concerned about Hinata, who was still in school. Toru, on the other hand, had to be patient and wait for Hinata to finish high school before they could marry. His affection for Kana faded with time, and he began cheating on her with Mika. When she found out she was pregnant with Toru's child, she assumed he would love her again like he used to, but it was too late. In this way, Kana blames her sister for her accident and miscarriage. Hearing all this, Hinata is devastated. But that's not all. Kana reveals that she has also slept with Kota. The information is too much for Hinata to handle, so she breaks down and rushes outside to the road. Unfortunately, she is struck by a passing car. In the next scene, Hinata wakes up in the hospital. Surprisingly, she has no memory of herself or the people around her. It could be due to trauma, or she simply does not want to recall it. Sometimes she hears Kana's voice in her head, causing her to have a nervous breakdown. Later, Kota informs Kana that her sister has met with an accident. But instead of feeling sorry, she mentions that Hinata deserved it. Meanwhile, Mika takes Toru to a cliff. Toru can no longer work in the trade now that he has lost his job and has nothing useful to give her. So he apologizes to her for everything she has had to endure because of him. Following Toru's apologies, Mika wishes for the two of them to die together in that location. Toru draws Mika straight to the edge, but she doesn't dare to die, even though she wishes she could. Toru then hopes that they can continue to live together so that they can take responsibility for their mistakes. On the other hand, as Kota is constantly trying to revive Hinata's memory at the hospital, Kana finally shows up. She informs Hinata that the story about her and Kota sleeping together was a lie. She assures her that Kota loves her and will look after her. Even though Kana hates Hinata and will never be able to forgive her, she still remembers the good memories they had together. Kana then wishes Hinata farewell, stating that they will never see each other again after today. 7 years later, Kota and Hinata are now married and have 2 daughters. One day, Kana approaches the 2 children as they play in the garden and gives them flower crowns. She reveals that she used to make them for her sister as well. After she leaves, the kids inform their parents that the crown was given to them by a lovely lady. The story ends with Hinata reflecting on a time when she and her sister were both kids and happy with one another.